We're live. I think
We're live.
there
We're
was a little
live. You
delay.
hear that, Sasha?
I
We're
guess
live.
we actually are live. Oh my god.
Well, I hope we're alive and
I am alive. And that's Sasha.
alive.
Oh,
Yeah.
and right when you picked up Sasha, Galaxy walked right past me. That could have been
Oh well,
a
we'll
pussycat to
try it again.
pussycat moment. Pussy to pussy.
Is Galaxy there? We'll match our pussycats. Or Sasha, as you can see, wants nothing to do with this right now. She's saying, "Put me down. Put
Yeah.
me down." Oh, come on, Sasha, be a good girl.
Oh, yay, someone joined us. Yay, someone
Who joined us?
us.
Who joined us?
I don't know. Please make yourself known in the comments. We finally got through our technical difficulties.
Oh.
Hopefully that's Andy. I know he really wanted to see you so we could talk about Liz Taylor. Oh, it's Joyce.
Oh, hi,
Yay.
Joyce.
All right.
Thank you.
Well,
We
if
had
you can
some really bad technical problems there. I mean, it's been a hell of a day.
Yay! Andy's here too. Yay! We're getting there, folks. We did it. 5th time is a charm. Number 5 is alive. Sasha is here. Oh,
She's
Sasha,
so
baby.
indecisive. She doesn't want to be on the camera, and then she wants to be on the camera.
Then
Anyway,
she's like, I want nothing more than to live my glorious life here.
she's saying, "I am
Oh.
already a star. I don't need the camera to be a star." Now, where's
That's for
Galaxy?
damn
I wish
sure.
we could hold her up too while I've got Sasha here, but
Let's go on a little journey then.
let's go on a little
Let's see
journey.
where I
I'm
will
getting cat hair.
find baby. Hi, babies.
And
Okay, my baby might run away. Hold on, baby. Hi, go, boys. Hi, boys.
yeah,
Oh no! She's
I think
going.
we're just embarrassing ourselves with our cat right now. This is not
My cat. Oh, baby. Let's see. I'm literally walking up my stairs. This is becoming quite a live stream.
well. I have a
This
feeling
is.
Sasha is going to run away as soon as I put her down. This is not going to work. But oh my god, right? What you're
We're
really
now in my bedroom.
right now. Oh, we're gonna get to your bedroom, huh? Okay,
My boudoir.
your boudoir.
The cat is under the bed.
Your
I mean, you might as. I
boudoir.
mean, I'm all the way up here. I mean, here's my
Oh,
bed.
well, you might as well show
I
off
mean,
your Ralph Lauren linens and that.
it actually is, and that's one of my photographs, and I do art and photography and
Really, I didn't know you did art.
stop it. All right, well, Mike, I could have jumped and grabbed her. I almost got her. I bet.
Well, I
Oh
think
well.
we both
Well,
know that
here.
interacting with our cats on a live stream is not always the wisest idea.
Well, here we're gonna walk down the hallway. Where,
Okay. Wait, hey, you're
sorry,
showing your art at least. You're giving
yeah,
everybody
this
a
is
tour. Your gallery wall.
yeah, yeah, this is one of my many walls. But this is the yeah, my staircase. Anyway, so some of the
One of your
there's a
many walls.
triptych.
Yeah.
One of my many
Yeah.
walls,
No,
just a
I'm
variety of
envious because
art.
as you know, I don't have wall space left in my home. I can't put my own artwork up anymore. Oh, I
All
recognize
right.
some frames from Michael's. I think I have the same one.
Well, we tried.
Yes, we did. Oh, did we
We gave
try?
it the.
Were you pooping bricks just like me? Like, why is this link not working?
Oh, apparently there's an echo.
An echo. I don't know what to
We
do
just
about that.
can't win today.
Well, no, I was trying to do the show on my laptop because I use my earbuds, so there won't be an echo. But we found that the only way we can do this is on my iPhone. That's probably why we're getting an echo, some reverberation. Sorry, I don't know how to stop that. I hope it's not too bad.
Can you put your? Because I'm on my phone
I
with
can't
my
put
headphones
earbuds in
in.
my phone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's an iPhone 13 where they eliminated the jacks and you have to have those wireless
Oh,
earbuds, which I
earbuds.
don't have. Apple. It's a conspiracy to get you to have to buy more things. Everything a la carte. It used to be nice and simple. You would get your phone, you get your charger, you get your little wrapped up earbuds and everything like that. Now they don't even. I don't think they even give you a charger now.
Well, that's like the restaurant I was
Apple.
in,
They're Apple.
right?
They're the
Working.
biggest corporation in the world. They can do any damn thing they want because they're Apple.
Yeah. Well, no, like I was saying, it's also similar to the restaurant I was working in. The whole menu was a la carte. Yeah,
Mhm.
the echo's gonna be there probably because, yeah, because
Yeah.
I have a microphone
Oh,
and
Joyce
he's
just said
using it,
the echo is gone. Andy said it's gone. And then
and
Andy
then
said,
it's
"Oh, wait,
there.
it's there." Okay, so I guess it's coming and going. I don't know why we have an echo, and I don't know what we can do. Maybe somebody will give us
Yeah, it's
technical advice, or we
it's the
Google
fact that
search
you
after the
don't
show.
no, it's simply that you don't have a microphone, and the only microphone I have is this. So, yeah, it's just gonna be what it is,
It is
for
what it
today.
is.
We're learning as we go, yeah. Yeah, I mean, in time, I'll have and so will Chuck, an actual microphone. Um,
Mm.
well, look who joined us. I
Who joined
actually
us?
spooked, Galaxy. She
Oh,
came
I
from I
thought
literally ran
because
under the
Pam
bed.
wasn't Pam with you for a while. I guess she left.
Yeah, she was here.
Oh,
Wow, we're
sorry.
getting in case you didn't know what I look like up close.
Oh, I saw up your nostrils. Yes, you need to trim those little nose hairs there, dear. No, folks, this is just the way she and I are together. Oh, and now I don't know where Sasha is. She ran off somewhere. But anyway, hi Galaxy. Hi Galaxy.
Hi,
Galaxy.
Uncle Chuck.
Galaxy is going. Why is my dumbass stupid human waving my paw around like this? No, she's sweet. I love
Oh,
I love her beautiful yellow eyes. And of course my Sasha has beautiful sapphire blue eyes.
yeah.
Yeah. But both our cats have very striking eyes. Yeah. Oh, Galaxy. Why is your mama holding you up like that? We love our kitties, don't we?
All right.
Yeah. So we are forced to do this on my iPhone. I was so hoping I could have done it right on the laptop and everything and had the sound right and a better picture quality. And plus, it would have been easier for me to read the comments. I hope you can read. You're doing yours on an iPhone too, aren't you? Okay. So
I am.
we will make this work. Joyce just said meow. Andy said, "Hi, Galaxy." Andy said,
Actually,
"Meow." Joyce said,
yeah,
"Yep."
let's
Meow.
yeah, let's I'm gonna try something because I'm using my headphones, you're not. My sound quality is terrible when I take out my headphones, but I'm just curious. It might eliminate the echo. I mean, that's the only option I have, so I'll just
I
try
think
that.
it's going to
Okay.
increase the echo, but try it.
All right. So, oh no, I still hear the echo.
Yeah,
So,
I think we're just going to have to flow with it. As long as people at least hear us okay. I hope it's not
yeah,
too
I'm gonna put my headphones back in. You're gonna look at my ceiling.
Why, it's lovely ceiling.
What's that, Chuck?
I said it's a lovely ceiling.
It is a lovely ceiling. It's a gorgeous chandelier that, the women who lived here before put up there. Yeah, Joyce, without the headphones, it makes it much worse for sure. Oh, actually,
Yeah.
hold on. There we go. Um,
We,
okay.
uh, but I'm sure people don't want to hear all our technical problems. They want to hear us getting down and dirty and crazy and wild and silly. And of course, then again, I guess that's what they have been hearing for the last few minutes. I mean, if people could have seen me on this end, you were giving me. By the way, that was a beautiful intro you gave me, and in fact, I was like, "Is the Pope going to canonize me after that?" I mean, it was it was so sweet and beautiful. And then you had directed me to click the link, and after the beautiful intro, and I clicked the link, and then nothing happens. And I'm like, what's going on? And you're probably there freaking out too. And you kept sending me link after link, and I was sending you text. This doesn't work. This doesn't work. This doesn't work. But I guess that's part of the fun of going on live like this. I was told that's part of what people love to see, just us making asses of ourselves, being silly, being funny, making mistakes all over the place. It gives us humanity.
Joyce
Human
is
access.
asking if
What's
the speaker is off on my iPhone. Well, I have my headphones in, so yeah. So I don't have my
Yeah,
regular iPhone speaker isn't on because
yeah.
I have my
I hope I
headphones
have
plugged
enough
in.
battery power on my phone. I didn't know I was going to be using my iPhone, and to set the phone up, I can't put the charger in it. So
Yeah.
I'm praying the battery holds out. So let's see what happens.
All
This is
right.
all part of the fun
All
of
right.
doing this.
Yeah. So without further ado, that was a whole preamble with echoing and we were going to talk about ghosts today. So it sounds like there's a little ghost
I didn't know we
in
were going to
the
talk about ghosts
machine.
today. You didn't tell me that.
Well, we left off on Tuesday talking about Elizabeth Taylor,
Oh, okay. But I didn't know we were
and
going.
that's
Well, anyway, I can talk about Elizabeth Taylor. What would you like to know?
yeah. Oh no, because well, where we left off on Tuesday, we were talking. It was ghost stories about the Roosevelt and Old Hollywood,
Oh, yes, of course.
and we
Yeah.
started talking about Elizabeth Taylor and our visit to her grave.
Oh,
Because
yes,
Andy
yes.
was saying, "Have I been to a grave?" And then you said, "Oh, I should tell that story," but we were at the very
Oh,
end,
yeah. Okay, that's right. Okay, I needed to be refreshed on that.
and
You did tell that story. It was
yeah,
funny because we both hear her, and I'd wanted to take you to her grave because it's very lovely. Elizabeth Taylor, of course, was very close to Michael Jackson, who is also interred there in that same mausoleum. Only he is locked away from the public. Nobody can visit him except immediate family or people invited. Elizabeth wanted to go in the other direction. She purposely wanted to make her grave as accessible as possible to her fans. She was very loyal to her fans. It wasn't ego on Elizabeth's part because I've known people who knew her said she was a very humble woman. She was very, very giving, very gracious. She was a great humanitarian, great philanthropist. She kept a lot of her giving secret. That's who she was. She was very private, but she always knew she owed what she had to her fans. So the guard, I talked to him. He said she personally came there and chose the site. And you've been there with me. It's very easy to get to. It's literally you walk in the entrance, go straight down the hallway, and there it is. And she also said to the guard or whoever it was who was selling her the gravesite, said, I want it to be very beautiful for my fans. And remember, she had that big, beautiful 20-foot angel statue and her name, Elizabeth Rosamond Taylor, in gold lettering, and two vases on each side with orchids, fresh orchids. Elizabeth made a stipulation in her will that something like the next 75 years, there will be fresh orchids delivered 2 or 3 times a week to her gravesite. And that's all because she wanted to make it beautiful. And remember, there's also a beautiful little bench there to sit because you and I sat there. So it's a very beautiful, peaceful grave to go to. And I wanted to take you there because we both communicate with her. And I wanted you to see her final resting place because it's so gorgeous. And you agreed with me. It was just beautiful and peaceful. It was everything she wanted it to be. But
exactly.
the funny thing is, it's in the Great Mausoleum at Forest Lawn, and her grave is next to a recreation of the Last Supper painting, only in stained glass. It's quite impressive. There's this audio tour that plays on a loop non-stop throughout the day, over and over and over. We were sitting there on the bench, and how many times did we have to listen to the Last Supper guided tour? And we were saying, this is really annoying. And you and I, this is where it's funny. You and I both heard Elizabeth, and pardon me for some language here. I'm going to say the F word. We heard Elizabeth saying, well, how do you think I feel having to lie here and listen to that fucking thing all day long? And you heard it too. We both heard it. She was obviously being very funny, but it was still so true. Poor woman has to lay there in eternity listening to the Last Supper audio tour over and over and over. But you and I, because we do work with spirit guides, we know that they do have a sense of humor, and they
That's how
often
you know they're
so
there.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah, they use humor to because it's comforting, it's uplifting. There's an element of joy, and there's also a levity to it. Like it's almost like the guides are saying, don't take me quite so seriously. I'm here for you, but have some levity about it. I find that consistent with a lot of these guides. So anyway,
Oh,
that's the
absolutely.
little story. I guess our little Elizabeth Taylor ghost story. Did you want to add to that? Your own impressions from it, memories?
Well, whew, I'm curious, Chuck. I was considering troubleshooting. I actually muted myself while you were talking, and that
You didn't hear
minimized
anything
the
I
echo.
said.
Oh, no, no, everyone. I muted myself.
Oh, I know. That's why I said you. Oh, you muted
Oh
yourself.
no.
So
So
could
meaning
you
you
hear me?
know if no, 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 meaning that if I'm speaking, no one can hear me. I've muted my volume
Oh, I
so
see.
that there was no echo. So I'm
Okay.
wondering if because do you have a control panel on the right side of the phone? Like it has like a little reverse, microphone,
Well, I have
a
no
little.
idea what to hit. Um,
Oh
there's
no,
like
because if you go ahead, I'm
I
just
don't know what
asking.
to do.
If you have on the right side of your screen on your phone a little there's like a little reverse like a arrows underneath the arrows is a microphone. If you hit the microphone, you will be muted,
Uh huh.
but you're going to be able to hear me and we won't have the echo
Okay,
most likely.
I'll hit it right now. Okay.
Okay, yay. I think oh now there's still an echo.
Hmm.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Can you
Oh
hear me?
wait, I can hear you
Okay,
actually. Did you
because I'm hitting the icon and the microphone's not coming back. So but you can at least hear
the
me.
no, so if you hit the microphone,
Well, right now I don't have a microphone icon. I tapped it and it disappeared, and I can't get it back. So
Andy hears bees. Okay.
bees. I I don't know. I'll tap it again.
It's fucking insane.
Wait, no, it says retouch on. I okay.
Oh yeah, you pressed the wrong button. That's okay. Just hit. Oh, there you go. Okay, yeah, that worked. You muted yourself. Yeah, no, we can't hear you, and as such, there's no echo. So this is a way that we can do this to minimize the echo. So when I'm speaking, you will be muted and then people will be able to hear me without the echo. And then when you're speaking, I will mute myself. Yeah. So right now I'll mute myself.
Okay. You look silly. Okay. This is really convoluted. I hope we can make this work.
No, it's not convoluted. It's because you're not using a microphone, but I am, so it's creating some dissonance. But
Yeah.
the workaround would be whenever you're talking, I'll mute myself. And whenever I'm talking, you can mute yourself.
But this is going to kill all of our spontaneity. We're going to have to, but we'll have to work around it. Yeah.
Yeah, because well, there will be spontaneity while I'm doing that, because
Oh, you
otherwise
mean
the like
like?
and exactly.
Do you mean like that? Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because otherwise, like Andy said, the echo sounds like buzzing bees. Lots of learnings there, folks. I love it. All right. So, do you mind muting yourself for a minute and then I'll talk? Okay, so this is funny. It's like, "Mother, may I?" Well, this is we are literally living out a silent movie together. You get to respond. Yeah, you get to have those smoldering eyes. You have to use your hands. You might need to write, "Fuck you," on a napkin. Yeah, Chuck gets to be a mime. This is actually very fun. See, it's all you just flow, baby. There's no right, there's no wrong. He's just like crying. Yeah, you can always write down a response on your piece of paper. Okay, so you told the story of Elizabeth Taylor. The fun thing about Elizabeth Taylor that I also want to talk about, because we were talking about the woo-woo aspects of things that I've experienced working at the Hollywood Roosevelt, where I no longer work. And that's why I could now talk about it. But one of the big things about Elizabeth Taylor, as you have taught me, because you've been working with her spirit a lot longer than I have, and I've never been particularly called to her as you have. I felt a lot more called to Lucy, to Joan Rivers, to Lucy as in Lucille Ball, and also to Jacqueline, meaning Jacqueline Bouvier Kennedy Onassis. There we go. We did that in the right order this time, such as a lot of names, Jackie O, as it were. But the thing with Liz that you've taught me is that she likes to play Cupid. So she likes to, shoot her little arrow. And I was going through a painful breakup, first of two. This is the second with the same guy, but after the first one, I really needed to date. I basically needed a rebound. And you said some prayers for me at that famous garden in Forest Lawn. I'm gonna mute
You're going
myself.
to tell that.
I knew you were gonna say that. um, he said prayers for me. I'm not gonna specify. Do you want to be unmuted right now? I'm, I'm not gonna say anything more than that, except that
I'm not.
I'm gonna mute myself. you know, I'm not
I'm not
gonna
going to
be
tell that.
sordid.
I'm not going to tell that. But
I'm not telling that story. I'm just saying you prayed. Now
Yeah.
you have to mute yourself.
Okay. I'm muting myself right now.
You can always respond. You can gesticulate. You can, you can do many yes. You can flip me off. This is very fun. Yeah. So, yes, he said a prayer. I'm not going to specify anything more, but someone did come into my life. And the reason we went to Elizabeth Taylor's tomb, there is so much subtext that cannot be described in a public setting, a forum like this. But we went to her tomb in part to ask for support. I was in so much pain and I just met someone new and it was very confusing. And Elizabeth is just so mothering and so, yes, he gave me the Jack Benny look, is what Andy said. Yeah, where's the horn? I need a horn. Andy's also saying Chuck is doing a great Harpo Marx impression. He's only the best. He is an amazing actor after all. So, what I will add, yes, what I will add to this conversation is that I was in a lot of pain and she plays Cupid and we're walking up. Also, keep in mind, Andy, last time you said, "Do I go to cemeteries?" No, I really try not to. It's very rare because of the pain I've been through in life with regard to death and being around the dying, and especially with close family members, like my brother in particular. So we're walking up, and I'm already feeling very uneasy. But it's sacred. It's beautiful. Just like Chuck said, you have the actual orchids that are delivered there and will be for 75 years, fresh, beautiful. It's a gorgeous space. But yeah, there is this absolutely annoying loop of the Last Supper from a nearby, art installation, essentially. And I heard so loudly in my head, in my mind's eye, in my heart, oh my God. Imagine having to listen to this shit for eternity. And I started laughing, and then a few moments later, Chuck starts laughing, and I tell him what I heard, and he confirmed that he heard the same thing. Oh, yay, we had more people join us. I'm so happy if you're here joining us. Chuck and I were having some technical difficulties. Just so you know, there's an echo because of his mic and my mic kind of like not working well together. So basically, when I'm talking, he has to be a silent movie star, and the Harpo marks it out. Yeah, he's our Charlie Chaplin here. And then likewise, when he talks, I have to mute myself. And then he, excuse me, you might want to shave. So I just wanted to, we were talking about Elizabeth Taylor and going to her gravesite, and because we work with spirit guides and we often channel folks, and Chuck introduced me to Elizabeth Taylor. I never really had worked with her before, because we wanted to continue our conversation about the deep woo ghost stories from the Roosevelt old Hollywood, and kind of like bring it, kind of thread that forward, because Chuck is someone who's extraordinary when it comes to working with different spirits, especially old Hollywood spirits, especially doing artwork that is imbued with that essence and spirit of these folks and what they need represented, on their behalf, because they're not here, but they love when folks want to work with them and do stuff, for them and for their memory. So yeah, okay, so I am going to, yes, the echo is gone because I am speaking and Chuck's muted, but I'm going to mute myself so that Chuck can speak and pick this up wherever we're leaving off. Okay, all right, Groucho Marx or whoever Marx or whatever, Charlie Chaplin, I'm muting myself.
Hello? Now, can I be heard? I don't know what more I can say. You see, this is where I miss our spontaneity, where we can just play off of each other. It's awkward. You speak and I speak. This is like foreign territory to the two of us. No, I mean, I'm sorry I threw out the F word there, but that's what I heard. She heard the S word. I heard the F word, but we both heard Elizabeth swear. And basically complained that she had to lay there in eternity listening to the Last Supper guided audio tour. But that was also just Elizabeth's levity. I used to be acquainted with one of her former personal assistants, and I was once going to have lunch with Elizabeth Taylor. This was the last year of her life. It was when I was working in West Hollywood at Earth Bar, where you used to work yourself, and you remember Hugo's restaurant, a block down. And it turns out that Elizabeth loved Hugo's, and she had a special table there. Just sort of in the back, and people would leave her alone. And he told me, this was when she was very ill, last year of her life, and she was going to Cedar Sinai a lot to see her doctors. Poor thing, she had congestive heart failure and some other issues. And then she would go there for lunch. And he said, "Well, I tell you what, um, when we're there, we will send for you and you can come down and join us, have lunch with us." He said, "Elizabeth actually asked to have lunch with me." And I'll explain this part. It goes back to, I'm originally from the state of Virginia. And this was after I had left my hometown in the southwestern part of Virginia, and I was going to college in Richmond. So I missed out on this. But she was married to John Warner at the time. I think he was he husband number six, number seven, number eight? I forget which number husband he was, but there was a husband after John Warner, and he became our senator. But Elizabeth, bless her heart, this was when she thought she had given up show business for good. She honestly thought, "I'm retired. I'm just going to get, quoting her, "I'm going to get fat and I'm going to be happy." And they had a farm in central Virginia. Well, anyway, she would get on a tour bus, like a campaign bus, and go from town to town campaigning for her husband. The great Elizabeth Taylor came to my hometown, and believe me, that's the biggest thing that ever happened to my little rinky-dink hometown in southwestern Virginia. I always tell people it was like Mayberry on the Andy Griffith Show. So imagine Elizabeth Taylor coming to Mayberry, and Barney and Andy and Aunt B and Gomer. Oh, it's Liz Taylor. It was kind of like that. And our local newspaper came out once a week. And they must have bought a special font and they must have bought red ink just for this newspaper because in big red letters, Liz Taylor visits narrows my town. And so I told the assistant about this. This was many years after the fact. I said, "Oh, do tell Elizabeth the story of how my little hometown newspaper did that in big red letters, how she came to visit. And it was such a big deal." And he got back to me and said she was so charmed by that story. She thought that was the sweetest thing in the world. And she autographed a picture for me and sent it to me. And the dry clean remember the dry cleaners that was next to our store, Holloway? Was she used to go there for her dry cleaning, and she would sit in the car and the assistant would go in and get it. And in the car, because remember we had big windows, she said, "Now tell me, who was it who I signed the picture for? Point him out to me." And she was pointing out to me in the store, and she saw me and everything. And he got back to me and said she wanted to have lunch with me. And she was very sincere about it, but her health was failing that year. She was very, very ill, and it kept getting postponed, and ultimately we never got together. But I almost had lunch with Elizabeth Taylor, and it was also fun because as you can imagine, I was a little nervous about that. And he coached me. He said, "Now, this is what you say to her. This is what you don't say to her." He said, "Now, she's very European about table manners, very, very proper. Like, know which knee you put your napkin on and which fork to use, that type of thing." And he said, "Do not talk during while you're eating your meal. What she does not like any talking during the meal. You sit and you eat and then you resume conversation." And he said, "Do not talk about her husbands." I thought, well, that's a given. I understand that. He said, "Do not ask her personal questions." I said, well, that's a given. But then he said, "Don't ask her about any of her movies." And I'm like, what? I can't ask her about her movies. I can't ask her about Place in the Sun and Cleopatra and Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. And he said, "No, she doesn't like that." And I said, "Well, what's there left to talk about?" And he said, "Well, talk about life." And I said, "Okay." And he said, she loves it when you compliment her on her skin and tell her how young she looks and how beautiful. She will love that." And then he pointed to my ring. This was my late mother's diamond ring, which I had resized and made into a man's ring. And he said, "She'll love to talk about that." And I said, "This little ring? It's got like three little quarter carat diamonds in it." I mean, we're talking about a woman who wore every day a diamond ring that was 33 carats. It's just for the fun of it. That was her daytime ring. And he said, "No, she loves any kind of diamonds. She will want to talk about your diamond ring." And here's the thing, this was my mother's. I had the shank melted down. It was platinum, and I had more platinum put in, and we made it into a man's ring, but it's basically my mother's ring. So I was going to take it off. I was going to dropped it, hand it to her and said, Miss Taylor, Elizabeth." He said, "Don't call her Liz. She hates to be called Liz. Call her Elizabeth. And in fact, when you first meet her, call her Dame Taylor, because she was made a dame by the Queen. So until she tells you it's okay, call her Dame Taylor." So, but I was going to say Elizabeth or Dame Taylor, please, would you hold my mother's ring so I can say my mother's diamond ring made it to the fingers of Elizabeth Taylor? Now, I would have loved for her to have tried it on, but just to have Elizabeth hold my mother's ring, my mother up in heaven would have been going, "Oh," you know. So I wish I could have done that. Shall I unmute myself now and let you talk? Okay.
That was such a beautiful story. Oh my god. Yay. And you are muted, Chuck, remember? Do you wanna unmute yourself and have an echo to so people can hear what you just said? Here, I'll
I'm sorry. I see. I'm used to us just conversing back and forth naturally. Can you hear me right now? And so I'm so sorry, I forgot, but I was just saying I've told that on my own show, and Joyce and Andy have probably heard that story at least 3 times now. Anyway, I'm gonna unmute and let you talk.
Thank you, friend. Chuck is sippy sippy. I wanted to address the fact that Andy was being a good student and raising his hand in the comments. So, Andy, in the comments now, you wanted to ask a question. You mentioned a guest, and also Joyce mentioned she reads lips, so she's having a great time. She can actually hear. I wish I said something more sorted so she could have read my lips. Um, all right. That's a first for Joyce. I love that. And we appreciate Andy that you love that story. It's a great story. I've heard it maybe once or twice, but that is honestly so extraordinary. I don't know if I've heard some of those details that you shared this time. So that was really, really special. And if I see we have another viewer, if there's anyone joining us right now for the first time, we are here with Chuck Dransfield of Chuck's Captivating Chats, Monday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. And right now we're having some technical difficulties with our microphones. So basically, I'm speaking, he's muted. Otherwise, there's this ungodly echo of like bees buzzing. It's terrible, but I don't know. Maybe it's honoring the bees that are trying to not die off and keep our civilization going. But yeah, and then when it's time for Chuck to speak, I get muted. And so that's what we're doing right now. In case you're new to what's happening here, we had many it took us 5 attempts to get this going, but it's always worth the wait to talk to Chuck. He's an absolute expert in everything old Hollywood, extraordinary artist, illustrator, actor, SAG-AFTRA actor, writer, screenwriter, you name it, he does it. That's art and that's Hollywood related, specifically old Hollywood. And so back to the comments, we have the amazing Andy and Joyce who are excitedly reading our lips because one of us is always muted. But yeah, Andy had a question. You want to know if you can bring in a guest. What do you mean by that? Well, Andy had another question. He wanted to talk about Laurel and Hardy stories. I do know that I live a little closer than Chuck does to the famous stairs up which and down which the piano was going. So I'm sure that Chuck can speak a little more to that. Ooh, someone might be watching on television. Very fun. Yes. Well, we are on you Tubavision. But anyway, no, I'm going to mute myself so the extraordinary Chuck can talk about the famous piano steps that are here near me off Sunset on Vendome in Silver Lake. It's open to the public, but I'm going to mute myself so Chuck can offer some stories about that. Maybe ghost stories? I don't know. Okay, go for it, Chuck.
Well, first of all, I'm laughing because I think in all the years I've known you, I've never heard you say the words, "I'm going to mute myself." I'm trying to think on Laurel and Hardy stories, but I guess while we're on the theme of the staircase, I live close enough myself. I'm like an 8-minute drive from it. It's a I've always referred to it as one of the happiest film locations in all of Los Angeles. It's the Music Box. That's the title of the film. Was made in 1932, which makes it what 93 years old. Isn't that extraordinary? 93 years old. The steps are still there. The surrounding area has changed a lot. When they made the movie, that was pretty much bare area with just the staircase going up. Now there are fences around there and other apartment buildings and stuff. The staircase still exists. Also, there's a garage by the staircase with a light fixture that is still there 93 years later. I took a friend there once and he half jokingly said, "I want to come back here with wire cutters and steal that." And I said, "Don't you dare. Don't you dare." But he was tempted because it's still there, just like it looked in the movie. And a few years ago, a plaque was put up. It's unfortunately it's been vandalized and scratched up, but there is a plaque at the base of the steps right now commemorating that this is where Laurel and Hardy filmed the movie. And it's probably the most famous thing they ever did. It's like their signature movie. It's the only one of their films that won an Oscar. It was awarded the Oscar for Best Short Subject that year. Um, it's been copied many times. In fact, this film was a remake. Um, because Laurel and Hardy started out in silent movies in 1927. They transitioned to sound around 1929, but in around 1928, they at that same location they did a film where they were delivery men delivering a washing machine, having to carry it up all those steps. And the tragedy is, a lot of silent movies have been lost. They were not cared for, they were not preserved. Nitrate film, if you don't care for it, it will literally turn into powder and decompose. The film is considered lost. There are only still photos of its existence, but they basically remade their own film, only they had the bright idea of improving upon it with a massive piano and a crate having to take it up the steps. And it's just so beautifully executed. And the fact that you can still walk up those steps, and you can even take your iPhone with you, put the movie on and watch it and watch the locations as you're going up steps in the very spots where they stop and they're talking and they're doing business. Um, every year in September, I believe it's in September, there's a little tiny park across from there. It's like about the size of a postage stamp, but I think it's called the Music Box. It's either the Music Box Park or it's the Laurel and Hardy Park, but it acknowledges the Music Box was filmed there. And every year in September, which I guess is the anniversary of the film, they have an event where they have donuts and cookies and refreshments and Laurel and Hardy impersonators. And there'll be a little tent with a movie screen, and they project the print of the music box and they play it on a loop all day long, like 70 feet away from where it took place, so you can watch the movie and turn around and watch the steps. And it's just very sweet. It's an affectionate tribute. um I don't know if you ever saw the movie about Laurel and Hardy that came out in 2019. Yes, it's I love the film. It was not successful at the box office, but I thought, oh, who are the actors? I John C. Riley played Oliver Hardy, and I'm forgetting the name of the actor who played Stan Laurel, but they were so good. They invested so much love, and those two actors did their research. They really studied Laurel and Hardy, and it was like Laurel and Hardy brought back to life. It was so good, and the makeup was so well done. But there was a moment where this boring fan, celebrities go through this all the time. Someone just talking and talking and talking. The poor celebrity can't get away. And this person is going on and on about the music box. And no, when you carried that piano up those steps, and Stan just deadpans, I was there. I thought that was somebody just said, I was there. So um when I saw the movie, I saw, our wonderful neighborhood theater on Vermont. That's where I saw the music box. I was with a friend, and we got the bright idea like 11:30 at night after the movie to drive down to the music box steps. And we walked up those steps just because we had at night, just because we had seen the movie. And one other little thing I'll tell you, I can run to the top of those steps in 28 seconds, and I have documented it. I once did a video with my iPhone of me going running up the steps, and I posted it on Facebook, and I proved that I could run to the top in 28 seconds. And I had so many friends, including my sister, horrified. Chuck, you could have had a heart attack. You could have died. Don't you ever, ever do that again. And my response was, well, if I had died, at least it would have been a famous ending. It would have made the national news. Man dies on the music box steps. So anyway, I guess that's my warped sense of humor, and I'm going to I guess mute myself and let you talk now.
I'm just over here laughing and clapping away. You could have had a heart attack, Lord God. If anything, you prove that you're not gonna have a heart attack, knock on wood, whatever, because you actually got up and down the freaking stairs in one piece. Yay! Oh, look who's here. Pam is here. Hi, Pam. I don't know if you've been listening to us in the background, but you might have heard some of our technical difficulties. We're in a situation here where if I talk, Chuck has to be muted. If he talks, I have to be muted because of the fact that, um, because of the fact that there's a little, it's my fault. Yeah, because there's some microphone issues going on here. But that was real. Oh, baby Sasha is joining us again. Va 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 boom. Look at her pose. Such a sex bot, a literal sex kitten. Oh, Pam couldn't find us. Uh, all right. Well, hello. Okay. So yeah, we were just talking about the Stan and Laurel Hardy movie. Sorry, the Laurel and Hardy movie. Geez Louise. The Music Box 1932, and then the 2019 version of it. And you were reminding me of oh yeah, Andy wanted to mention that Chuck Ollie was played by Steve Coogan was the name. Yeah, Steve Coogan was the actor. And let's see here. There was a little segue, and it was about different. Oh yeah, so you're mentioning the community theater, the Vista Theater, right? Vista, that's on Vermont, and no, not the Vista. Hold on, I'm gonna mute myself. Check
No.
your
Okay. No, the Los Feliz Theater next to Skylight Books. You know that theater. Okay. And by the way, Steve Coogan played Stan. It was John C. Riley who played Ollie. Anyway,
There you go. Yeah. Well, actually, so Lucy List 3, which is on Vermont, and then as you take Vermont, oh, that's right. It's actually where Hillhurst ends, where Hollywood and Sunset meet. That's the Vista. But both of those are vintage cinemas. At one point were one and the same, and part of American Cinematheque. American Cinematheque still there at Lucy List 3, but with Vista, it's now owned by Tarantino, as you probably know. It was completely refurbished, rebuilt. It's gorgeous. I mean, not literally completely rebuilt. It's still the original um, grandeur of what it once was. But it was reminding me of the Cinerama Dome, which was built in 1963. Oh, wait, hold on. Chuck wants to say something.
Andy just said we're both muted. Are we muted?
We were muted for a moment there, but
Okay,
then
so,
we
okay, I
got,
just want to
yeah.
make sure you were being.
Now we're just going
I'm
to echo.
gonna mute myself again now.
Okay. Andy, you have a question? You're raising your hand, friend. What would you like to ask? It's everything's okay now? Okay, lovely. So yeah, we're good. All right. Thanks, Pam. Appreciate that. Yeah, so we were talking about some Hollywood establishments in terms of movie theaters and also in terms of the music box steps. And I was just reminded of the Cinerama Dome, where I worked at the Cinerama Dome and at ArcLight Cinemas Hollywood at one point. But the Cinerama Dome, it has an interesting story. If people don't know, it's a dome that was built in the sort of tradition of a Buckminster Fuller dome, and it's a type of dome where even if there's an earthquake, it's actually something that gets stronger and more structurally sound versus less structurally sound for time. And it was built alongside the promotion and PR for the movie It's a Mad, 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 Mad World. And what ended up happening is they got to, because of the timing of finishing the building of the Cinerama Dome, which is at Sunset and Vine, they were able to premiere the movie there in the dome. And it premiered and was there in the theater for about 3 months. And what's interesting is that, so I come from this, family of immigrants from Russia, from a tiny ethnic religious community. And when we came here, our communities got very closed off. But while they were closed off, some of us had little vices. So it's a very, very, very zealot level religious community. It's very, very protective of their traditions. But we were in America and we needed to blow off a little steam. And one of the ways my mom's mom did that was by watching copious amounts of old Hollywood movies at the time, not that old. I mean, but movies from the 20s, 30s, 40s. This was in the 50s and the 60s when my grandmother would be watching these movies. And my mom was an identical twin and would sit there right next to her mom watching movies all day long and with their mom, my mom and her twin. And fun fact, when my mom was 10, that is when the ArcLight Cinemas Hollywood, well, which wasn't there yet, but Cinerama Dome opened. And my mom got to go see when it premiered It's a Mad, 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 Mad World in 1963 with my family. So we were a part, like, there was so that we basically became cinephiles, like hardcore cinephile, especially for old Hollywood. Although I ended up working more in current Hollywood, as it were, and so my knowledge base is more from, yeah, it's a different era. It's not quite the old Hollywood era, but I was at least exposed to that, and it was such a beautiful full circle to be able to work at that Hollywood institution and to be somewhere that used that Cinerama technology that was really rare, and the also the precursor to what became IMAX. There are other Cinerama. I think there's one dome left in Seattle that still uses Cinerama technology, but it's very, very, very rare right now. But it was the shit. It was the shit back in 1963. This is my beautiful erudite literary education coming through. It was yeah, it was something so unprecedented and unparalleled, that type of technology for a film. And it I actually I will say this. So because I learned a lot, because we would, even though Cinerama film wasn't being used much anymore, because in order to show a Cinerama movie, you literally have to have three different projectors, and the movie has to be shot on Cinerama film. And in order to start the movie and to show the movie, I would talk to our projectionist. I know, Andy, I know that Chuck wants to talk, but yeah, the projectionist would literally, there'd be one on one side. I don't know, this my little camera's being weird here, but you'd have one projectionist here, and one here, and they'd have to synchronize and press start sort of together to be able to show Cinerama film, because it was, as far as I know, like three negatives coming through three different cameras, and the movie had to be shot on that. And there aren't too many movies shot on that, but the ones that were, they would show them when Cinerama Dome was still open. Unfortunately, I was part of the crew that closed it March 15, 2020 for the pandemic, but it shall reopen again soon. And I know that Chuck is like chomping at the bit to say something, so I'm going to put this on hold, and you may speak, sir.
Well, you actually mentioned what I was going to say about the three camera films, the projectors, and it was very tricky because they had to be perfectly synchronized. So you had to have a very skilled projectionist to do this. And even then, there would be mistakes. It was a very flawed system. There were many times. Cinerama has been around since I think 1954, 53 or 54. There was a feature film, or it was a short subject called This Is Cinerama, where it was just a lot of novelty shots of like going up and down a roller coaster and things like that, and showing Mount Rushmore and the Grand Canyon. It was to take advantage of this big, big, expansive movie screen. And, and a lot of this came out, there were several widescreen processes that came out in the 50s. CinemaScope was probably the one that prevailed for the longest time and really became the forerunner of what we have now. But it was all in answer to a little box called television. Television was destroying the movie industry. People, movie going used to be a habit where people would sometimes go 2, 3, and 4 nights a week. There were, even my little town in Virginia that I talk about had two movie theaters, which was just extraordinary. Every little town had movie theaters because there was enough support for it. Back in the days when all you had was radio, you know, newspapers, radio to get your news from mass communication. So it was a common habit. But once television came out, I mean, television technically has existed since 1927 and it's throughout the 30s, but it did not really prevail until after World War II, around 1948, 49, 50. And as people began discovering this, everybody was staying home and the studios were freaking out. We've got to have something. We got to create gimmicks, like third dimension, widescreen, CinemaScope, Cinerama, to give what you couldn't get on your little tiny 12-inch black and white screen, even though you got I Love Lucy, you know, even that. Lucy and Desi made a movie in 1953 in Technicolor and widescreen, the long, long trailer. Even they jumped on the bandwagon to capitalize on their success, but it was all rooted in television. But that's where Cinerama came about, because it was looked upon as the ultimate. You could not achieve a widescreen bigger than that. Three m- movie pictures side by side, and of course, they would build these domes like the great Cinerama dome, which just maximized that effect. And I do hope they bring it back. It's been sitting vacant since the pandemic. I think it was declared a historical landmark, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't think it can be torn down, but I hope it will be put back to some kind of use. But it always amused me that they had to synchronize that film. That you had to have a very skilled projector, and it reminds me back in the days when I'm hearing my cat getting into something here, but I'm helpless. I'm on camera, so I can't do anything. But when sound movies first came out in the late 1920s, it was a big phonograph record like this size, a huge, huge record, and you had to synchronize the film to the phonograph. You actually had to put a needle on the record and have the sprockets of the film lined up so they were constantly like lips moving in one direction and sound in another direction. If any of you have ever seen the movie Singing in the Rain, it's a Gene Kelly musical. It's about the early days of sound film, and they parody all of that. Like there's a big sequence where it gets out of sync and it's very funny and all that. But anyway, I should hand it back to you here. So let me mute myself, I should say.
Thank you so much for that. Yeah. I am realizing that, oh, there's our Sasha, our queen bee there again, without the echoes of the bees. For those of you joining us right now, yeah, we've had some issues with our microphones, and it sounds like a swarm of bees when when, when we're both talking at the same time. But we'll get that fixed, and it'll be a lot of fun. Um, Andy asked a great question. I brought up the whole sort of microphone issue because my phone is going to start dying as well because we had to be on our phones today, unlike other times, being on a laptop or iPad. We're not sponsored by iPads. Keep in mind. Sorry about that. We mentioned a brand name. Oh Lord forbid us. So yeah, we're gonna have to wrap this up real quick, but I know. Oh, the whores. We did start off talking about Elizabeth Taylor, who wants to be called Dame Taylor or Elizabeth. Do not call her Liz. I'm sorry, I called you Liz earlier, Elizabeth. Anyway, Mr. Chuck Dronsfield, the expert here, because I actually can't answer this question. Andy asked a great question about Cinerama film versus Cinescope, which are two different things, but I don't know exactly the difference. So please explain, and then we'll have to maybe only say one more thing, and then we got to go. All right, go for it.
Okay, Cinerama, as Anastasia explained, is three separate strips of film, and the projectors, they're angled a certain way so that it will become like a seamless widescreen movie, but you've got three individual images. It's much trickier for the reasons we were talking about of synchronizing that. CinemaScope is a single strip of film, but it is shot with a special lens that squeezes the image together onto the film, the 35 millimeter film. And then the projectionist has a similar lens on the projector that stretches the picture back out. And that's what the CinemaScope process is. And the CinemaScope process became far more popular simply because it was much easier to use and there was much less that could go wrong with it. And it was really the standard, I think, well into the 1970s. And I think there have just been variations on it, like Panavision and so forth. But it's basically the idea of CinemaScope with the compressed image, and you just stretch it back out. Shall I hand it back to you?
Thank you so much, Mr. Historian, the excellent, the one, the only, the Chuck Drunsfield. I just wanted to go over some of the comments because we're going to have to wrap this up just because our phones are going to die. The microphones are on the fritz and the cats are meowing and jumping and ravaging our lives. So we want to get back to everything. Pam was just saying how it's getting very cold outside. The sun is going down. There's almost 10 hours of difference in daylight between the summer and winter solstice, and how they have BS theaters where she's at up in Canada, and no one cares about this theaters. That is very sad, actually, indeed. I mean, there are a lot of things in life to be passionate about, but cinematic history and old Hollywood are definitely fun things to engage, and that's really sad. I'm very grateful. I grew up in LA, and my mom, of course, like I said earlier, and her mom were huge old Hollywood fans, and I grew up with that. I also grew up going to there's a silent movie theater here. I think it's now closed, unfortunately, but I got to grow up, yeah, going there where there was a literal, I know, there's a literal guy playing the organ or the piano, whatever the hell, playing in concert with, in conjunction with the movie. That's another beautiful way. If you didn't have the big record to hit play at the exact moment, and synchronizing it with the image, you had the guy, at least, that option to play piano alongside of it. Um, all right. Andy is saying, "Oh, dearly beloved, we have gathered here together to honor the life of two wonderful phones, Chuck's and Anastasia's life phones." Yeah. All right. Let's see here. Any more questions? Because we're gonna need to wrap this up. Oh, hold on. Did we see the question about oh, yes, that was a great I did see that question, Andy, but I was waiting. It's kind of hard to do this way. Like one person's muted while the other one's talking. Yeah, you were talking about how the old negatives from the silent era, how they nitrate negatives could just literally dissolve and become dust. They're very hard to maintain the quality of over time, and that's a really fascinating subject with regard to the entertainment industry, even with digital and how to back up and make sure we have digital copies stored correctly. But yeah, so Andy wanted to know about the fire or the fires, right? That actually also destroyed a lot of movies, not just the age of them and not being cared for by preservationists and film historians. All right, I'm going to mute myself so you could speak to that as our last question of the night.
Well, there are actually a number of stories of fires like that. See, nitrate film, in addition to crumbling into powder when it got old, has always been extremely flammable. There are scores of stories of movie theaters where projectionists were not as careful as they should have and burned the whole theater down. Um, Robert, oh, who was the? It was he was the producer of Chinatown. Robert Evans. Robert Evans had his own private screening room, and he was a big collector of nitrate film. One night, his whole screening room just burned to the ground. I mean, it was even on the local news here, a huge fire at his home, and it was all that nitrate film because it was just so unstable. So there are scores of stories like that, and nitrate films burning up. But I remember there was a story back in the 1970s. There was a storage of a lot of nitrate films in upstate New York. I think it was connected with the Kodak company, Kodak Films. I think that was Rochester, New York. There was a huge fire and a lot of original camera negatives on nitrate film for especially a lot of the MGM films of the 1930s, completely obliterated, gone forever. Thankfully, there have been like second generation copies made that have preserved a lot of the films. And we're also very lucky in this digital era, the magic of digital. They can do the most amazing things with those surviving prints to make them look pristine and brand new again. Um, for example, the great film Sunset Boulevard, Gloria Swanson, William Holden, the camera negative, the original camera negative was lost for that. And about a decade or so ago, there was going to be a big DVD, no, it was a Blu-ray release. So they wanted to restore the film and make it look impeccable. And to their great chagrin, there was no longer a camera negative. All they had were prints that had been made off of that camera negative, but through very skilled computerized digital restoration, they had to go through that film frame by frame by frame by frame. And I got the Blu-ray. It looks stunning. You would swear it was from original camera negative. So there are all kinds of tricks like that. And even when they have original camera negatives, they can make it look better than it ever looked back in the day. Um, Films like the old Technicolor movies, like Gone with the Wind, The Wizard of Oz. Old Technicolor was shot on three. And here we are again, three individual strips of film. There was a special camera that had filters. If you know anything about blending color, artists know this. Red. The primary colors, red, yellow, and blue. You'll have a filter for each one that would send that information to the black and white film. And then in the laboratory, they would take this and print each strip of film up in that corresponding color. And then it was sandwiched together. And that's why those old Technicolor films, the colors are so vibrant and you have all of this depth and polarity that just rivals anything shot today. And with computerized technology, they're able to go back, take those original camera strip negatives and line them up with such precision that was not even possible in 1939, that the films just pop and they're more dazzling than they've ever looked. But anyway, to get back, there have been a lot of films lost to fires because of the instability of nitrate film. And I better stop talking and let you talk now. I'll get back to you. I'm going to mute myself.
Thank you so much, Chuck. That was so informative and fascinating. And these are things that I've read, I've heard about, but I'm in awe of your glorious and gorgeous memory that keeps us all right here at the ready. It's what makes our conversation so rich and dynamic. Normally, they're much richer and more dynamic because we can talk and like interact better. We'll figure this out for another time. I can't hear you, friend. Here, I'll unmute. I'm gonna.
Okay, I was just going to say the good thing, it does keep us from talking over each other. That's a blessing in this. Okay, I'm going to hand it back to you.
Although that's the fun of it, because even when we're talking over each other, you can still hear what I'm saying as you're saying something. I've rewatched what we do when we work together, and it's actually quite brilliant, if I must say so myself. Ooh. Anyway, my phone is about to it's in that it has like only a sliver of red left. So I definitely need oh well, thank you. Yeah, I need to get going. I know Chuck needs to get going. He's had a big day. It's a big day tomorrow. So do I. Joyce, I just want to shout out everyone who's been here, at least who's been in the comments. So I know other people have certainly tuned in through our 5 attempts to try and make this happen because of those little glitchy technical difficulties, but we figured it out. I knew we'd be able to have this show today, even if we had we had to do number 5 as a live, 5 takes to get here. That's okay. But thank you. Joyce is telling us it was a great show tonight. Andy loved the show. Um, Pomona remembers who's Pam. She's saying Anastasia can say anything back to you, Chuck. You're saying to me. Will I be on the rest of the week? I'm gonna thank you for asking. With little Miss Sasha here as our guide and mascot and our confirmation. I will be here tomorrow. So this week was kind of like welcome back to the universe of YouTube for Anastasia. I haven't really been on YouTube as much recently, and because of recent things happening in my life, I suddenly now can be. So I was here Monday, Tuesday, took Wednesday off, Thursday, Friday. I did go to the Hollywood Bowl though. Check out those videos. I'm gonna post a few more because I got to see Steve Martin and Ed Helms play banjo. Ed Helms sang as well. Chuck is bringing a book out. It looks like. Do you want to speak about your book or no? Go ahead.
Well, last night I was treated to the Amundsen Theater at the Music Center in downtown LA, which is, of course, where the Dorothy Chandler is, where they used to do the Oscars. I saw a wonderful production of a musical called Parade. It won the Tony on Broadway for Best Revival, and it won for Best Direction. And it is just a spellbinding musical. Um, Anyway, she went to the Hollywood Bowl last night. I went to the theater last night. I'm just holding up my little program here, but it was just an incredible evening. I better hand it back to you because I just realized most of you are not in Los Angeles and are not going to be able to see the show. But it was just such a night in theater. My friend, I have a friend who gets free tickets to things. She has connections, and it's kind of a dirty little secret that when theaters here in town can't get enough attendance, they because this was opening night and they critics were going to be there, so they wanted a full audience. So there's this thing called papering the theater where they just give away a lot of tickets to people just to fill seats, and my friend got 2 tickets that way. But to our delight, we were seated 6 rows from the stage in the orchestra section. Oh my god, those would have been like $150 tickets, but uh, it was just beautiful sets, costumes, lighting. The performances were so good. The score was so beautiful. Tony Award winning direction. And I love the theater. And I'm so happy Anastasia got to experience Steve Martin at the Bowl because Hollywood Bowl is one of my all time favorite places. But I'm going to hand it back to you.
Thank you so much, Chuck. Yeah, the Hollywood Bowl is a very large venue. Tens of thousands of people can be seated there at once. It's outdoors. It could be, yesterday was a very hot day, but by the time night falls, oh, it's actually chilly. You have all these beautiful hills around you and green and trees and so many people, and the acoustics are perfect and the way everything reverberates, especially when it's a more quiet, gentle, peaceful type show like it was last night, which was more, again, folk, Americana, Southern American music, Americana, bluegrass, that kind of sound, a lot of banjos. It was gentle, it was lulling, and it was honoring the inclusivity of that type of music. So with a lot of Black women, a lot of women, a lot of also just representation as a whole of what that instrument is, the banjo in particular, what it can do, especially with its African roots. So yeah, Steve Martin just turned 79 years old, and he made some jokes about that for sure. Andy just mentioned that. Oh, Joyce is jealous. Yeah, it was a gift. Just like Chuck was treated, I was treated by a very close friend of mine. And yeah, thanks, Andy. Well, everyone, I just want to thank everyone again for showing up. Pam, Andy, Joyce, Chuck, me, Galaxy, Sasha, and the people who lurked in the shadows who did not want to be named. You even got a little tour of my house when I was trying to find my poor cat who ran away because she didn't want to be on camera. But she ended up coming back down anyway because I know she's a little bit of a whore for the for the screen, just like Sasha is, even as she keeps running away. Well, now my phone is probably at 2 or 3%, so I really do have to go. As Galaxy might be here for her final hurrah to say goodbye to you guys. Nope, she's going to run away. So what I'm going to leave you with is, again, thank you. Please like, please subscribe. That helps keeping this content going and people to engage with us. And more exciting things to happen, more community. This is about community. This is about coming together. And it's not just old Hollywood. It's not just ghost stories, not just transformational speaking or comedy or dating tips or whatever. We have a lot of things here that we can talk about between me, Chuck, and other guest stars. We have a wealth of knowledge and information for you. And this is, I feel, what YouTube is about. It's a lot of things, but one thing, it is just entertainment, which is what we're offering. But it's also a way to share resources and to offer more community and extended family and chosen family, and to really help each of us to thrive a lot more in our lives and not to feel alone. So I love you very, very, very much. We thank the buzzing bees who made all those sounds. Yes, who created this interesting way of communicating by being silent and speaking, speaking then silent. Yes, it also enabled us to do all sorts of fun, yeah, silent movie sound tricks here, and smolder and use our eyes and all that. But yeah, I will be here again tomorrow, 7 p.m. Okay, for this live stream, tomorrow, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. And then next week, stay tuned. I might actually do a Monday and Wednesday live stream, not just Wednesday, not just a hump day. I'll keep you posted. So I am on Instagram at the Sacred Spheres. I'll definitely post things in my story for you guys there. Otherwise, how about this? How about this? I'm going to commit to Monday and Wednesday just so that we have some clarity about what the hell's going on. How about that? For those of you not on my Instagram, I will see you Monday, this following Monday, not just tomorrow. So I'll see you tomorrow, Friday, and then Monday and Wednesday. And stay tuned, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. I love you so much. And we might actually, I might actually have a couple shorts or shorter videos from this longer video that I'll also put on YouTube because I saved a couple of them for you guys. All right. I love you. I'll let Chuck say one more thing because we don't want to forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell thingy, not just for me on the Sacred Series, but for Chuck Dransfield. Okay, Chuck, say your piece and then we'll sign off.
Say my piece. I think you've pretty much said everything. But yeah, I do my little itty bitty little live stream on Mondays, 5 p.m. Pacific, uh, 8 p.m. Eastern. A little bit of dyslexia there for a moment. Chuck's Captivating Chronicles, and it's kind of a freeform show like what you do. Just talk about everything, talk about old Hollywood stories. And also I have, because I worked on a book on I Love Lucy, I have my head full of worthless information about Lucille Ball and I Love Lucy too. So I talk about that. And then of course Tuesdays, should I plug that too? I do the Taco Tuesdays with the wonderful Dr. Whimsy Anderson on her channel, The Oracle of Whimsy. 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. We talk a lot about news events and so forth. And then I'm sure she and I are going to be doing more of these too, just getting wild, wild and crazy and silly and having a lot of fun. And we both just appreciate you very much. A lot of you here do come to my show too, and you make it possible for us and help us to grow these channels and just see where they're going to go. So anyway, I'm going to turn it back to her because she deserves the last word. It's her show.
All right. Thank you so much. Again, thank you for coming. And I will be here again tomorrow, Friday at 7 p.m., not Saturday, not Sunday, Andy. And then Monday again at 7 p.m. All right. 7 p.m. tomorrow, Friday, not Saturday, Sunday, 7 p.m. Monday and Wednesday, and we'll figure it out together from there. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell thingy so you know when we're going on live stream, especially if we have to shut it down 5 times because we're having technical difficulties. And please subscribe to Chuck Dransfield as well as the Oracle Whimsy. We're all one big happy family, and we'll have more guest stars and more information and more people can subscribe to so you can keep all the good news and good vibes going. I love you. Have a beautiful day. You are so loved. You're a part of our family and a part of our community. We'll see you. I'll see you at least here tomorrow at 7 p.m. Bye, Chuck. Bye, everyone. Joyce, Pam, Andy, thanks for joining us, everyone. Mwah! Even those of you in the shadows. The shadow always knows. Bye. Thanks for joining our Hollywood History Talk today. Bye, bye, bye. See you.